Welcome into Deep Waters here on ProBox TV, where we take a deep dive into all things boxing. Well, when it comes to boxing news, Ryan Garcia is the gift that just keeps on giving. As you know, tested positive for ostarine following his upset win over Devin Haney earlier this year. Well, his legal team has submitted 2 of his supplements in open, unsealed containers that they say tested positive for ostarine. So, Paulie, my resident Ryan Garcia fan, case closed, right? Done. Not guilty. Bam. Right? Done.
I don't know. The funny thing is, ostarine is such a rare substance, right? And yet they found it in 2 of this guy's supplements.
First thing I thought.
Bro, Ryan, you gotta go play the lottery. With those odds, how can you miss, dude? You gotta go play the lottery. You tell your mom, tell your father, because he's a know-it-all too. You gotta go play, even though you're lawyers, because they're the ones who figured it out, right? You gotta, with those odds.
Take him with you and play the lottery.
You gotta play the lottery. This guy, the odds that this guy found, and don't ever fly because those are the same odds. So don't ever take a plane. All right, we don't, you know, we are the gift that keeps on giving. We want you around, dude. That's wild. That's wild. What do you say? Such a rare substance, not in one. Which is almost impossible to find in one trace amounts, because especially ostarine, in 2 different bottles.
Two different companies, too, by the way.
Two different totally different companies, different
this
supplements.
Guy, what the luck this guy's got, unbelievable.
How unlucky can you get, right?
How unlucky are you going to be, man?
So, talk
at least you figured it out, right? At least you figured it out. We can all rest easy now.
Right.
All you Ryan Garcia blowhards, you can rest easy. You figured it out.
Right.
You did it.
It's in 2 supplements. Chris, you as our nutrition guy, you know the supplements, you know the industry, you know the testing policy. What is suspect about this, and what is unofficial about it to the people
What's
just
not
reading
suspect about this?
Completely.
Well, what is official is that he still got caught doping. And whether it helped him or not, it doesn't matter. The stuff's in your system. And by the rules, if it's in your system, you are responsible. There's accountability to that. Every athlete is responsible for whatever goes into their system. So at the end of the day, he's not exonerated. It's just there's going to be different punishments based on whether there was intent or not. Intent matters. If you're intending to dope, there's going to be a much longer and stiffer ban. Yeah. If it was an accidental ingestion or a dusting of a contaminated supplement, completely different, much shorter, much weaker ban or punishment to that. You're looking at 6 months, versus 2 years or lifetime expulsion from the sport if you're actually intentionally doping. So irregardless of how it got there, it was still there. So he's going to be punished for that. There is still going to be some kind of suspension. So let's get that out of the way. Secondly, now, the burden of proof falls on him and his team to prove that there was no intent of the doping. So it was an unintentional contamination of a used supplement. That's what they're saying. So now that falls on them to then go and find which supplement they think it was, find an unopened, a sealed portion of that supplement from the same lot to prove that there was a batch that was contaminated. If it's opened and tested, that's not how science works. The chain of command and who's in control of the supplement, how stuff gets in there, is lost.
You can put ostarine in both of these and
like
how we found it.
Like in the gossip columns, they said who wore it better? Who had the better excuse? Canelo with the tainted meat, or Ryan with the 2 different laboratory supplements? Which one was better? Which one? You guys decide at home. Which one was better? Who wore the excuse better, guys?
Right, but what I'm saying is from this perspective, Chris.
Reason. Reason? What do they call it? Reasons.
Yeah, exactly.
We call it
Reasons, not excuses. Reasons. Look, but Chris, when we look at it, when they say we tested these, that doesn't have any scientific basis. Meaning the commissions don't have to look at you gave us an open bottle. That doesn't mean anything. We have to test the same. So this test is from his legal team. It doesn't really hold any weight when it comes to commissions. Is that a good way to look at it?
You know what that test proves? It proves that they know which supplements had the stuff in it. Now you got to find out where the stuff came from. That's the next step. So remember, I'd said this in past shows.
If they're telling the truth.
This is only the beginning. This is going to take a very long time to figure out. So yes, he failed the night before. He failed the day after. That's done. It's in your system. It's there. Then I said, then they did the B sample. Okay, what's going to come with the B sample? B sample almost always turns out to be the same as the A sample, which it did.
Yes.
Boom. Okay, now, that's all in the past. That's all done now. Now it's like, okay, was there intent? How was it on purpose? How to get there? So now we're at that stage. He tested the 2 supplements that he suspected is where the ostarine came from. Boom, he's got those 2 supplements now. Okay, these are where they came from. Now I got to find out how the banned substance, ostarine is a banned substance, how that ended up in a electrolyte carbohydrate powder and an amino acid. 2 things that normally wouldn't have these kinds of things in it. So how did that get there? That's their next line. That's their next in the chain of how they're going to try and figure out, prove that this was an accidental ingestion. So that's up to them and their team to figure out.
Paulie, we've talked about this. One thing is it looks as though the commission is kind of sticking to its guns, which when we've talked about this behind the scenes, like, man, pretty rare that a big money guy is under this kind of pressure.
Yeah.
What are your thoughts on how this is being reacted to?
Well, I heard, and you guys correct me if I'm wrong, I heard that the head of the New York Commission had stepped down after that.
Yeah.
Did that happen? I think
in that whole week.
In that whole week. So I look at it like that person was probably so disgusted that they were actually trying to even manipulate and overturn this, that they were probably like, I don't want anything to do with this. I don't want this position. This is disgusting. I'm out of here, And more power to that person. I don't know who that was because I have not dealt with the New York Commission in ages. I haven't fought in ages, right? So I thought that was very respectable of that person. But when it comes to the rest of it, the rest of this fiasco, yeah, I mean, you ever see a guy that, because you talk about intent matters with the amount of how long the suspension is going to be, how much the fine is going to be, all the other mumbo jumbo, right? So for that reason, you're never going to catch somebody who actually says, "You got me, all right, I did it." For that, because because the intent now brings out a longer suspension. So you're going to play your cards, the way you're going to play them, right? You're going to be like, all right, I can't show that I intended to do it just in case I can't beat this when I fight it. This way, my suspension at worst and the fine at worst is going to be less. I get what they're doing, but it's also up to clearer minds, smarter heads, cooler heads, smarter heads
prevailing.
Smarter heads prevailing. Which I get it. In 2024, it's not. It's kind of more rare.
I don't think that any of that really matters. I think it's pretty cut and dry.
Dude, it matters. You know why? Because we're having this show. We shouldn't even have to have this show. This is so obvious and so logical, but we have to have a show to convince the blowhards, because there's too many of them, that this is ridiculous. So we're having a show, and we're talking about this. This isn't really a show topic. This is like, all right, this is common sense. That's a real excuse? That's a real reason you gave? Okay,
we're going
to talk about it. What are you going to do?
We just had the New York State Athletic Commission, what their official statement was. Right. And listen, that's the law. That's what it is. You got the stuff in your system. You're responsible for it. You have a banned substance in your system. You're caught. Now, what gets dealt with that afterwards, that's in the process we're at now. So all that I said,
and that's where the intent comes in.
That's where the intent comes in. And from now on, it's proving that it was not intentional. That's Ryan's team's job.
Now, here's my question, and more so to you, Champ. If this reason or excuse comes out to be as ridiculous as it sounds, because again, you would have to basically have the same odds as the lotto to figure out that a substance that's so rare wound up in two different laboratories and two different batches of things, and those two particular batches both wound up in Ryan Garcia'S house of all things. So, but he not only with two batches in two different companies and two different laboratories, but then he wound up with both of them coincidentally of this substance that's so rare to begin with. So if it turns out that this excuse is as false as it sounds ridiculous, for argument's sake, does that now prove intent? Because by you getting caught lying and you saying, okay, you were trying to say that this was your excuse to say it wasn't intentional. This turned out to be false. Those batches were not contaminated.
You're manipulating the results.
Forget manipulating. You lied at that point. If it comes out that way, then you lied. Does you lying constitute intent? Because now you obviously are trying to cover something up. Because nobody lies for no reason, right? I mean, we get it, but now you're going into detailed lies.
Yeah, so if the lot proves out to be pure, does that
constitute intention?
Right. If the lot turns out to be pure, right, and they go, no, that's not in any of the other stuff we sent out from that factory that day, it does mean they put ostarine in it to beat the test.
The slower minds, because not all of you reason that quickly, So I'm going to a substance that's not that common, very rare, winds up in two different batches in two different laboratories of two different companies inside that. And both of those batches also, out of all the places they could have went to in the world, a bottle of both of those particular batches of all the places, both wound up in Ryan Garcia'S house. This is what we're talking about here, guys. Yeah, we're talking about lottery number. We're talking about mega millions lottery numbers.
But that argument of if the lots are pure, that means they put ostarine in it to beat to. So is that intent? I'm very curious.
Not necessarily, because taking ostarine the week of or the night before is not going to help you. There's no therapeutic sports enhancement from having. I saw the amounts, very small amounts. It does look like a contamination, looks like a dusting. Yep. So having that in, if it does turn out to be like, oh, well, we only failed the night before and the night after, so obviously I had some like the day before. That's not going to make him better at the sport, and it's not really.
But it's the struggle to make weight, and him having
well,
the microdosing, not catching him earlier.
The weight and the IV are a whole different issue. So the IV is an issue too. You're not supposed to use IVs. So I believe there's some video of him using IV that was mentioned in New York State Athletic Commission's statement. So. That's a whole nother. There's a lot of issues.
I feel like we're on Dumb and Dumber here. Like, because if you just gave like a little bit of out, champ. You gave a little bit of an out. Like, if it's not that, and then all the fans are gonna be like, yeah, you see, that's like 1 in a million, more like 1 in a million. So you're telling me there's a chance? Yeah, there's a chance he didn't do it on purpose. I get it. I got you.
Ultimately, if this is gonna come down to the commission and what their ruling is gonna be in terms of what kind of punishment that's gonna lay to waste based on what we just talked about. Oh, it's like, all right, we can't prove intent, but also. Wasn't therapeutic.
Also, this goes away a lot of times when somebody fails. Like, you go through your suspension, whatever, you come back. People love Shane Mosley. He didn't fail, but he was caught in the Balco stuff. People still love him. They put him in the Hall of Fame, right? I mean, Brandon Vargas failed. Let it blow over and get it behind you instead of keep fighting and keep it at the forefront.
There's also ways around it. Ben came to the States to fight. He fought in Vegas in Florida. He's completely banned in his home country, but he comes
guys,
here.
Here's the thing: is that who gets stuck with that doping label is always, to me, mercurial in combat sports. Some live with that label forever. Other people move past it. You never know. But as this story develops, we will keep you informed. Another developing story. It looks like a fight that we were really looking forward to August 3rd will not happen. Whose fault is it that we won't see Tim Tszyu come August 3rd? We discuss it right after this. We are looking forward to a banger next Wednesday at 154 pounds in our main event, Hernandez versus Schramm. But I don't want to jinx it because we were looking forward to a great fight at 154 pounds. Later this year, August 3rd, it was Terrence Bud Crawford, of course, taking on Israel Madrimov. But also we had a great one that was supposed to happen, Tim Tszyu versus Virgil Ortiz. And we talked to the hardcores. That was a fight most people were looking forward to. It looks like Tim Tszyu will not be fighting. The cut he received in the Fundora fight has not healed sufficiently. They have pulled the fight. Doctors will not allow him to continue. Before we even get into the details, the nuts and bolts of whose fault it is, our disappointment level. Gentlemen, when we talked about August 3rd, this is a fight we're kind of looking forward to. It will not happen. What are your thoughts on it and where we go from here?
You know what? Let me pass it off to the champ first, because I'll snap out right now. Okay. I'll snap out. Let me pass it off to the champ first. I'm getting tired of this.
We're gonna do disappointment first, then we're gonna do anger. Disappointment followed by anger.
Yes.
I am
all the range of emotions.
I am extremely disappointed.
It's like Inside Out here, by the way.
This was the fight that I was really looking forward to this summer. Better be a Bivol, absolutely. That fell out from under us. I was upset about that, but I was like, you know what? We still got some good fights coming. Mainly Tszyu and Ortiz. I would love this fight. It's a throwback fight to when guys were meeting in their primes and, stylistically the matchup great. Now this falls out. I'm on edge, guys. If we didn't have 5-on-5 this weekend and we didn't have some of these great heavyweights fighting right now, I would be in a really bad place because these are important fights and they're falling out. But you know what? When this first got announced, it was way too soon. He's got this cut on his head, a brutal cut. Spends 11 rounds dealing with that cut getting worse.
Cost him the fight when it was an elbow. Yeah.
And then we're gonna say 3.5 months later he's gonna fight another total stud. I mean, this was wrong from Jump Street.
Yep. All right, now as I put my hands up, as Paulie's to my right, I'm ready for your anger, man. Hands are up. Protecting myself at all times.
All right, let me start with the calmness first. All right, the champ mentioned. See, this is why I also wanted the champ to go to put some ideas in my mind first. Okay, so the first one is, we're not gonna get Bitterbury of Bivol. We're not gonna get Ortiz and Tszyu now. Okay, I'm angry. I'm disgusted. Thank you, Turkey Al-Sheikh. We got at least Dubois and Ergovich so far, okay? So we got this. Thank you for these cards. We at least have something to look forward to that is still dynamite. Some dynamite fights going on this summer.
Yes.
But these were two of my favorites, dude, okay? I blame the freaking Vegas doctor. Stop the damn fight before it gets this deep. Tszyu wins. You have Tszyu and Virgil Ortiz for the championship of the world, 2 dynamite studs on this August 3rd card. You would have had dynamite all over it. Instead, we got the guy had to finish 12 rounds with a hemorrhage on his head.
Against a tall guy.
I could have been a ringside doctor.
Wait.
Go ahead, champ.
If Tszyu wins that fight, we will be having Tszyu and Crawford.
Listen. Let me go in my world of what ifs. Okay? Let me go.
This guy is filling gaps that aren't there.
Let me deal in my world of what ifs. All right, I want to deal in my world. In my world of what ifs, You're probably right.
Yeah.
But just for the argument's sake, imagine you would have had Tszyu with 2 world titles, undefeated, streaking, and then Virgil Ortiz, undefeated, constant knockouts, one of the most exciting fighters in the sport, streaking, and we're gonna get a super fight that they're not gonna let it marinate. What is this? What are we taking it back to the 70s and 80s?
And then the winner fights Chuck Norris?
Yeah. Nobody beats Chuck Norris. But do you know what I mean? Like, we're not gonna let it marinate for once. We're gonna go back to the Leonard Hearns where they don't let it marinate, they just go. We were gonna do that? No, of course not. It's too good to be true. What are we talking about? First of all, let the doctor blow it and ring. Well, I could have been a ringside doctor. Yeah, you're good? All right, go ahead. What's the point of having your medical degree, guy? What is the point? You're good? I'm good. I can do that too. Tim, you all good? All right, you guys are good. I'm gonna fight. Right. What's the point of being a corner ringside doctor? What's the point?
There are 2 ways to look at it, and we're going to deal with
I had too much coffee today, guys.
He did have a lot. Walked in with a big espresso.
And they got me the Cuban coffee today.
They did. That's bad. Real tiny one. It's bad.
2 espressos right before this.
But here's the deal: is that there are two ways to look at this. There's the in-fight way. The doctor made a mistake, and there's the post-fight way. We'll deal with the post-fight way in a second, right? What could have been done after the fight to maybe fix this, or not at the fight in the first place? But Chris, what are your thoughts about what Paulie's saying about the decision of that doctor in the fight set all this in motion? What are your thoughts on that decision?
I'm going to say his team too let him down. It's not just the doctor. You know, if his team was like, hey, listen, we can't see, that's an accidental injury. The doctor has to stop the fight. Has to stop the fight. And that could be that maybe his team didn't understand the situation with the rules. I've told this story a million times about Robert Garcia and how he's used that in the past with his brother Mikey Garcia when he fought Orlando Salido. Yeah, if you tell the doctor you can't see, the fight's over. Yeah. And if it's because of an accidental injury, that's it.
That was the one little tidbit right there. I think Tim Tszyu is the best technical fighter I've ever seen out of Australia. So he's got a terrific team to be that great technically out of that content. I've never seen such a good technical fighter.
Knowing the rules is different than being technically a good fighter.
But the corner experience, it's where they were lacking a little bit. There was no corner experience.
In the fight, a lot of errors. But what about after the fight? Could something have been done after the fight to make sure we didn't have this disaster close to the fight? We'll discuss it right after this.
Well, I think they call it a heater, right? 5 straight winning weeks here on the Bettor Side. I hope you've been part of it. So let's keep it going. We go back to the desert for a Matchroom versus Queensberry, 5 versus 5. And let's deal with the main event with the heavies. It is Zhilei Zhang against Deontay Wilder. And if you go to sportsbetting.ag, Zhang is the favorite at -165, but Wilder very much a live dog, +135. Listen, I get it. Wilder's lost 3 of his last 4 fights. He looked terrible against Joseph Parker, but Zhang also lost to Joseph Parker despite putting him down twice. But Zhang just ran out of gas. They've told Wilder, who is the bronze bomber, we don't want any finesse. Let's go swing for the fences. So what is the better side of this? Well, what about Wilder winning the fight by knockout, TKO, or disqualification? That is +170 at sportsbetting.ag. But I got one even better. The better side of that is Wilder winning by stoppage, rounds 4 through 6, a healthy, robust +650. Both guys need this to keep their careers going. Wilder may already have a fight set up August 3rd. A loss here may negate that. Love Wilder by stoppage, rounds 4 through 6, +650. Another one for you. What was the main event now is still for the WBA 175 title. It's Dmitry Bivol. He was supposed to fight Artur Beterbiev to unite and unify the 175. Instead, he gets Malik Zinad. No thank you on the money lines, right? It is Bivol -10,000. Way too big of a number for me. Zinad, not so much of a live dog at +1,800. So what's the better side? What about Bivol by decision? -110. Not bad to spend the juice there. Listen, his last 9 fights, Bivol has won all by decision. Maybe that punch power is gone. Bivol hasn't knocked anybody out since 2018. I love -110 Bivol by decision. And if you're going to go with that, then you got to go with the fight will go the distance. That is even money at sportsbetting.ag. Maybe they know something we don't, but I love that. I hope you do too. I'm Jim Rodriguez, and as always, it's the better side.
For For J-Rod, it's 5 in a row, trying to make it 6. Fear the grandpa jacket with this guy.
I'm telling Jimmy, I think that he's getting tips from beyond the grave wearing that jacket. Grandpa's giving him some tricks.
I think he's getting clothes from beyond the grave, but that's just me, right? He's betting right now on the power of Deontay.
It's not just the Bettor Side, it's Bettor Side. Better. He's better. He's better with those picks.
He has been fantastic. 70 pounds will do it. But Tim Tszyu, when we come back. Welcome back into Deep Waters here on ProBox TV. Tim Tszyu will not be facing Virgil Ortiz August 3rd because the cut he suffered earlier on this year is not healed. He's not going to be ready in time. Doctors have said he cannot fight. Gentlemen, we talked about how his team let him down kind of in the fight itself, right? Not calling for a no contest. They were gone to the cards. Totally different outcome in that fight. Did they let him down after the fight? Should he have trained and been ready for this fight? Chris, what are your thoughts on it?
Absolutely. And trying to book this fight so fast was them letting him down. Listen, I don't blame Tim. Tim's a warrior. He wants to fight. He would fight with one arm. He doesn't care. He wants to fight. You offer an opportunity like this, you dangle a fight of this magnitude, he's going to take it. But his team needs to look out for him and be like, hey, man, you got a really bad cut. A regular cut, I'm talking a little slice, takes 100 days, no contact, to heal 100%. That thing was deep. It was open for multiple rounds. I mean, constantly getting hit, getting worse. That thing's going to take a lot longer. We don't know how deep that went into the skull. There's not really any muscle in your head there, but there's some major blood vessels. That's why there's so much blood. And it could be nerve damage. It's a very, very bad cut. And I think they should have been a little bit smarter. When I first heard about this fight, I was like, that's a little close to when he just had a really bad cut. So I was surprised they booked it. But again, I don't blame Tim. He's a warrior.
Is it about a team, Paulie? The team's got to tell a fighter who will, once again, fight a bear for the right
amount of money. You got to save us from ourselves.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, you know, the fighter. Yeah, exactly. Let's say it for himself. Well said. Right as I was about to talk, he makes a great point. This is why we all work together.
That's why we work together.
No, seriously. The fighter wants to fight everybody. You know, it's the team around him that's trying to play chess outside the ring, while the fighter plays chess at light speed inside the ring. Right? That's typically what it's like. But when you're all inexperienced in the business side of the sport, you know, this is, again, I'll reiterate. I think Tim Tszyu, his technical boxing team, the team he's got in his corner, is amazing because he's the best Australian-born, because I don't want people to mistake for Garcia. You know, you're going to say Garcia is also an Australian fighter. Garcia is Russian-born. The best Australian-born fighter, technically speaking, from a technical standpoint, that I've ever seen. Okay, so obviously his team is doing something right, but they are all inexperienced outside the ring. This is where you kind of sometimes wonder, and again, this is just me wondering out loud, if not having his father involved in his career as much hurts him here, you know, because his father has been involved from a professional standpoint at all levels of the sport, many decades from many decades earlier. Maybe you get the father's input in this and, you know, say, hey, man, it's a little early. You know, maybe the father would have known, like, you know what, it's a little early for you, man. You know, take a few months off, you know. But I know they kind of have a little bit of a strained relationship. I'm not sure. You know, I don't want to delve into that and give opinions where I probably don't know the full story.
But that veteran mind could have helped.
Nonetheless, a veteran mind could have helped because I believe he's got a terrific technical team around him. But you need some experience as far as the business aspect of it, the decision-making aspect of it. I love the fact that he wants all the smoke. I was talking about there's certain fighters, only certain fighters in this sport that really want all the smoke.
He says everything right in interviews.
He's actually not a businessman at all. He actually needs a businessman in his team as well, and somebody that knows the business, because they are terrific as far as the fight aspect of it.
And one more aspect, champ, and you'll know more about this or better about this than I do. Listen, scar tissue.
Yeah.
You have the rest of your career. It's very early in his career now. He's been champion. No, obviously he doesn't have the belt now, but I believe he'll be champion again. Why are we going to force the issue and start things quick? And now you have scar tissue that could potentially be an issue down the line.
It doesn't get easier. It gets harder as that scar tissue builds up. You bleed easier and easier. And this guy could have a long and great career, but we'll keep track of it. Thank you for watching.